What's going on, guys? Rob with 3STRONG here. I get a lot of questions about how do I work my lower abs, and the actual answer to that one is there aren't really any movements that work your lower abs. And the reason I say that is because actually activating those muscles takes a lot more thought than actually prescribing an exercise. In one of my other videos, I talked about hanging leg raises or knees to elbows, whatever you want to call them, where you're hanging from a bar and then you tuck your knees up. Well, I see a lot of people doing exercises like that in the gym, and they're just going through the motions and they're feeling it more in their hip flexors than in their lower abs, or they're trying to get down on the ground, get down on a mat, and doing all these crunches and things. And everyone seems to focus on, like, oh boy, I can feel it in my upper abs, but I don't feel it in my lower abs. And so I'm going to explain how to actually work your lower abs with every single movement you do. And it's far beyond crunches and sit-ups like that. So here we go. If we look at the body here, just the basic skeletal form, I gave this person chicken legs, which is great. But anyway, here we have the pelvis. The lower back attaches into the back side of that pelvis. So you can kind of see that we already have an imbalance here. This would be the rib cage, and of course we have the spine, the thoracic spine all the way down to the lumbar spine. And this is where things go wrong. People need to understand that these two different regions have two different flexion and extension points. So we can't think of the spine as just one whole thing moving as one. There are really two main regions where we get movement. And so a lot of times we have the feet planted or we're sitting on the ground, and every movement is initiated by the upper body. Well, that makes sense that we start to feel it in this upper ab region here. And if we look at the musculature, the abs attach into the front side, kind of the top front side of the pelvis here, and then the underside of the rib cage. So we're really going to use those muscles as we start to shorten that distance. Either the front of the pelvis is going to come up or the rib cage is going to come down. Either way, we are working those abdominal muscles. However, there's a muscle, there's this really big muscle that actually kind of wraps around. It's called the transverse abdominis. This is where we really get our girdle. Have you ever seen any one of those guys that actually has kind of a distended belly out, but they have the ripped abs? Doesn't seem to make sense, because you have the six-pack abs, but you don't have a flat stomach. And that's because you can work on the superficial muscle, the six-pack abs, which lies over the top, but they're not really engaging those muscles underneath. So when we're talking about the lower abs, what we're really talking about is how do we engage the transverse abdominis to actually flatten out the stomach. That's really what you care about most, is having a flat stomach. So how do we work those lower abs? Well, instead of thinking about working them from the top down by doing a whole bunch of sit-ups or crunches and things like that, which are beneficial to work the muscles, to actually get this lower section, we need to think about working it from the bottom up, and it comes from the pelvis, not the shoulders or the rib cage, but the pelvis. And so if we think of this little thing here as a bowl, we need to tilt that bowl up, which tightens up these muscles. One of the things that I would highly recommend is when you're on the ground, you're hanging from a bar. Actually, hanging from the bar is a lot more challenging. This is like thrown into the deep end, and you will absolutely feel this, is that once you're hanging there, remember this, our spine attaches into the back side of the pelvis there. So if we just relax, it's gonna fall forward, which is gonna cause this arch. This is where most of the issues come from, back tightness and everything, where we have a looseness in front and we have a tightness in the back. So if you have any back issues, it's because your abs are most likely weak, your hip flexors are tight, things like that. But anyway, we want to get out of that position and we want to tilt up. We want to tilt everything back, and notice how my lower back starts to flatten out and get into a better position. So I challenge you, hang on that bar, and the only thing you're going to do is try to tuck up. You're going to try to turn and tuck those hips under, and even squeezing your butt, squeezing your glutes is really going to help. So just try to tuck under and hold that position. You're not even going to bend the legs. Just go up and hold that position and see how that feels. See how those, let's call them lower ab muscles are working. And it's going to be a different feeling since the movement is initiated from the bottom up instead of the top down. Now we've shifted the focus down here. Okay, guys? Once you start with that movement, then if you try any of your other abdominal movements and you focus on that area first, it's going to completely change the way every single one of those movements feels. And that's really what you are looking for. Not necessarily a new exercise, but a new way to feel all the exercises that you're currently doing. Okay? That's a lot of information, but hopefully that helps, guys. Go out and try that. Suck in those guts. And yeah, that's it. See you tomorrow.